Hello, this is Julian with Coffee Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing Day 8 of KaffeBox's Advent Calendar, featuring the Luis Anastasio Castro Red Honey Processed Costa Rica from Matteo. And there's the container right there. Alright, well, let's talk about Matteo real quick. So they are based out of Gothenburg, Sweden, and they're the first coffee I reviewed from this Advent Calendar, which was a washed Kenya. And I quite enjoyed that washed Kenya, which was pretty nice given that Kenyan coffees typically aren't my favorite coffees, so they were already off to a pretty strong first impression with me. Now a little bit more about Matteo. I was able to find an article from Sprudge back in 2014 that talks about them. Looks like they've been around since 1995, and they have quite a bit of significance and influence on the Scandinavian coffee scene as well as the Scandinavian coffee scene on the world. So pretty notable and prominent coffee roaster. And a couple of other things I wanted to add to this video was we got a couple of requests from my subscribers to add a little bit more information on roast level of coffees as well as my recipe. So we'll start with the recipe real quick, which was 1 to 15 at 201. So 1 part coffee to 15 parts of water and 201 degrees. This is the recipe I keep finding for all these Scandinavian coffee roasters on their websites or what they have listed for their coffees. So that's the recipe I'm going to keep using. And then the roast level for this, I would say Matteo is slightly darker than most of the Scandinavian roasters, which is still, as a whole, typically lighter than most of the American roasters you'll get. So for Scandinavian, I'll call this a slightly more light to medium than just straight up light. Well, with that, let's go ahead and start talking about this coffee. And after I had first brewed this coffee, I wanted to say that it was spectacular. Right out of the Chemex, it had a really, when it was at its peak heat, it tasted spectacular. Now, I want to say, obviously, I let it cool down for like, I don't know, 30 seconds or so, but at that point, it was a beautiful, amazing caramel taste. This kind of really sweet caramel and this kind of really sweet, what I would call grape. I didn't know what I was drinking at the start. I didn't have a good idea based off what I was smelling from the bloom or from the container. So based off my first impression, I kind of assumed maybe washed Central American and honey processed Central American, so I was pretty close. And it's definitely, it hasn't been as good as it's cooled down, but that first impression was so strong that I really enjoyed this coffee. I can already say that this is one of my favorite coffees from the Advent Calendar. It's kind of to say that not all the coffees I have to love have to be overly fruity or overly, floral, but if you can get some really nice and great sweetness or some really nice and great flavors from other parts of the coffee, even some really great milk chocolate, or in this case some really lovely caramel that I tasted, then I can really enjoy the coffee. The taste profile they have listed on here is sweet and juicy with milk chocolate and yellow raisins, which makes a little bit of sense, and the chocolate was definitely there too. But for me, it was overpowered by the caramel that I had enjoyed so much, kind of the super sweet taste to it. Let me go ahead and put up the tasting wheel now as well so you can see what I was getting. And I love the look of this tasting wheel because this shows some terrific balance in this coffee. Sweetness was pretty high. This, for being a red honey processed Costa Rica, I love the fact that they were able to do such an amazing job with the sweetness in this coffee. Chocolate and caramel, of course, pretty high, and it did have a pretty nice body to it as well. A lot of great components in this coffee. Like I said, it started off so strong, very sweet, and it's still pretty sweet. And I think you get, after I saw these flavor notes, I said, okay, those make sense, and I get some of that really nice, I would say what tastes like raisin to me now, but it could be priming effect in effect right here. All right, so who would I suggest this coffee to? People that really enjoy the sweet Central American coffees. If you do enjoy the milk chocolate taste to your coffee, if you're slightly more on the chocolatey side, but you enjoy when it is pretty sweet, like sweeter things, then this is definitely your type of coffee. For somebody like me that does enjoy the fruity and floral, but enjoys a break from those as well, this is basically perfect, actually. I really enjoy this coffee. It's going to be top 3 so far, probably my second place favorite coffee from the Advent Calendar up to Day 8. Really impressed, really love what Matteo is doing. The fact that both of their coffees have been a couple of my favorites, standouts, and based off what I'm drinking, they exceeded my expectations. I'm a fan of Matteo as well. So I will leave my review at that. If you've tried Don Matteo, let me know what you think of them, especially if you've tried either of those two coffees. If you're enjoying the content, give this video a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But this right here has been a review of the red honey processed Costa Rica Luis Anastasio Castro from Don Matteo. Thank you for watching.